Hello guys, Azralynn here, and we're going to be doing a quick video on the Decisive Strike changes that are currently a work in progress, and my thoughts on these possible upcoming changes. I've always had a love-hate relationship with Decisive Strike. I used to use it tons on my Lori, but then I absolutely hate going against Decisive Strike whenever I play as a killer.
Decisive Strike. So as you see, Myers is picking up our boy here. We're going to get a gigantic skill check, which I wanted to warn you for.
Oh my god, I missed it.
But you did it on purpose.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Of course. So,
Totally on purpose.
What was that skill check?
What
or
was
that,
right?
honestly?
Or that. Hey guys. That was a crazy skill check. So the idea is, well, first of all, can we hit it? I want to hit it here.
Well,
we're going to show it again. It's a giant skill check. This
can
is
you not hit it?
There we go.
That's the question
Oh,
I'm asking.
You can let it go by.
Yeah, but I mean, with that skill check, like, is there a way that you're not gonna hit it if you want to? Because it's like
Exactly.
so large. Like,
That is not the decision.
Alright, so seeing this giant skill check that's literally impossible to miss unless you just don't activate the ability, it was really confusing at first, but then they did clarify a couple minutes later stating this.
Yeah, so the things that are in progress here are the very large skill check is essentially a stand-in for a button.
Yes.
Oh.
So
Okay.
I think that's what we were trying to get at, was a very, very large skill check is basically just, hit it or choose not to hit it. So in other words, it's like a button activation, but we don't have that ready at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, is it something that needs to have the skill check component?
Yes, absolutely it needs a skill check component. Having Get Out of Killer's Grasp free anytime you just want to press the button is an absolutely terrible idea, and I will go into more detail as to why in a little bit.
okay.
Right? Your decision actually is when do you want to use Decisive Strike. And this is what I wanted to basically try to figure out and see how players explore the change that we've done to Decisive Strike. At the moment,
Can anybody notice what the change was?
yeah, there is something different. And
It's not actually about the skill check.
It's not about the skill check. It's actually related to the portrait. If you look at the portrait in the bottom left, he is now not able to be healed to full. This is not no mither. This is just the component of not being able to heal to full.
So you don't have all the positive side of no mither.
No, you don't have.
so you're
you're
still
not
bleeding.
quieter, you're still bleeding. You have all the other components.
You don't recover fast.
Of injured.
There's nothing.
There's nothing. You just can't heal back to
You
full.
can't go back to full.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Not being able to heal back to full health for the rest of the game is a very significant penalty for using Decisive Strike. That being said, if it was just a press it whenever you want, don't need to worry about the skill check, it's going to be used as like a last hope effort to survive. So you're on your way to your third hook, or the gates are open, or whatever. But to know you're going to have a 100% chance to get out of the killer's grasp, there's no reason to not use it. And honestly, if it stayed like this, I expect everybody to be running Decisive Strike just as that last effort to survive when you have nothing left to lose.
Now, this might not be enough, right? Decisive Strike can still be used at the very end of the game, potentially for an escape. The idea of making the giant skill check zone was to see if it would be as frustrating to killers as it was prior.
Yes, I would definitely be more frustrated to have like 4 people popping Decisive Strike right when I was about to get the third hook on them, or right when they were about to escape. And I actually think that this is going to cause killers to camp people even more often than they normally do, because if I finally get my obsession hooked on the first one, or maybe even the second one, let's say, I'm going to hang around until they die, because I know that the next time they're definitely going to pop that Decisive Strike. And there's absolutely nothing I can do to prevent them from getting free. Camping them and just making sure that they bleed out that last little bit in order to prevent that frustration later game when they do use the Decisive Strike. But that is also going to frustrate the survivors who are being camped.
So I've heard players come to me and say, oh, the non-obsession Decisive Strike is even more oppressive because of how much time is wasted for a carry that then gets interrupted.
I think the thing that makes it more frustrating when the non-obsessions use Decisive Strike is that as a killer, you just don't know that it's coming. With Decisive Strike in its current state with the skill check, you as a killer have a choice as to whether you want to slug them, pick them up, make them use it, or try to juggle them to the hook. But when the other non-obsession players have it as well, and you're just not close enough to a hook, not only that time is wasted, but it really catches you off guard and you just have no way to defend against it.
And then the other thing was, do we really want to have different behavior for obsession and non-obsession?
So you're telling me also that everybody is going to have the DS like the obsession. Like
Yes.
if there's 4 people running it,
Everyone
they
would
all
have the same
have
thing.
that huge skill check and choose whenever they want to use it.
Wow, that's unbelievable. So they just acknowledged that it's more frustrating for killers when survivors waste more time before popping the Decisive Strike. But then they think that this change is going to be good, where any of the 4 players who happen to have Decisive Strike can just wait as long as they want and activate it at a key press. This is going to result in killers being even more frustrated when they spend 90% of the wiggle time walking to a hook only to have the person Decisive Strike at the last second. Unless there's some way for the killer to know that there's 4 people running Decisive Strike on the team.
So we're looking at that. So like right now we're testing a version where essentially you can activate it whenever you want. That's what the skill check represents, or rather, you don't have to hit a very hard skill check to get it. And the obsession, non-obsession are similar, and it leaves you broken. So that's what's currently being tested.
Yeah.
It's overall a terrible, terrible idea of the changes that they're wanting to make. The negative, yes, it is a very severe negative, but when the next hook is going to kill you, or the gates are already open and you know you can make it, it's really not much of a detriment at all. It's a simple choice, really. Escape the killer's grasp and be injured for the rest of the match, or die next hook. The only thing that this negative is going to really prevent is the early game use of Decisive Strike. But like I said before, it's even worse that people are going to save it till later.
So I get a lot of feedback about the frustration of DS. So you're telling me right now, like, in that new system, people are going to keep it for the late game. It's even it might be even more frustrating.
It might be stronger than what it currently is. This is something that we need to address, and obviously not the direction that we want to go when we do this. We'd like to go in more of a direction of how we worked borrowed time, interception, and how it's being used today to a certain extent, right? We are not looking to make Decisive Strike stronger in that regard. These are simply tests.
Yeah, we're testing it. This is not even going to be in the next PTB. It's just something we're working on right now, and we want to show you, right? So we can discuss about it.
All right, well, at least they acknowledged the fact that it could be stronger, and I 100% think that the changes that they are making, if it goes through as is, will definitely buff Decisive Strike to a huge extent, and it will be even more frustrating than it already is when you play killer. If this change actually took place, I would 100% use Decisive Strike every single game, just for that last second saving myself when I have no other choice. And I would also expect that any survivor I play with, or any survivor I go against, would be running Decisive Strike as well, because it's 100% get out of the killer's grasp free once per game whenever you want to use it. So the question comes down to, what can they do to Decisive Strike that would make it more balanced or more fair for not just the survivors, but for the killers too? Alright, so looking back at things, I really think that Decisive Strike never should have been put in the game in the first place. At least not the way that it was implemented. And before you start typing nasty comments defending Decisive Strike, just hear me out, please. What I think that they should do with Decisive Strike, perhaps it's like a stab on the killer, but instead of the killer actually dropping the survivor, I think that the killer should just falter a bit, and this could open up another blind opportunity for flashlight users. But in the process, what it actually accomplishes is giving the survivor a set amount of wiggle percentage towards the wiggle bar. So it's not a 100% get free sort of thing, but at the same time, it can essentially get you free. And the reason that I think that this would be a better change to Decisive Strike is because there are perks like Agitation and Iron Grasp that can help to counter it. Now this can be done in 2 ways. The first way would be to have a skill check like Decisive Strike already is right when the killer picks you up, which I think would be better in terms of causing less frustration for killer. Or they could have it the way that they're looking to change the current Decisive Strike, in that you get to activate it once per game, whenever you please, but without the negative effects like the current work in progress Decisive Strike idea. If the Decisive Strike was changed in that way, I think that there would be a perfect opportunity to implement a new ultra rare item. And this new ultra rare item, I'm just gonna say a pocket knife, let's say, like similar to Friday the 13th. The survivors could choose to use this pocket knife whenever they want, or could have a skill check, it really all depends on how the devs would want to implement that. But running an item like that would be very obvious in the character select screen, and it would let killers have an opportunity to run things like Franklin's Demise, or just have Knockout and a Slug build if they really wanted. The point I'm trying to make here is that there's a lot of other things they could do with Decisive Strike, but if they keep going down the track that they seem to want to go based on the last livestream, I feel like it's really going to hurt the game in terms of survivors frustrating killers even more than they already do with the current palette looping. And in all honesty, when I play Survivor, I honestly feel bad sometimes when I hit the Decisive Strikes and escape. Times when that killer had me dead to rights, but then leaving him feeling helpless there, not even letting him try to stop me from decisive striking. But anyway, so those are my thoughts, guys. I'd love to know what you guys think. Do you guys like the current changes that they're proposing for decisive strike? Do you think that there's changes that they could do differently? I'd love to know what your guys' thoughts are, and I'd love to see some open discussion in the comments down below. Hope you guys did enjoy the video, and if you did, please do hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.